family. Grand rising, a grand afternoon, a grand evening, depending upon where you're hailing from. It is Tuesday, June the 16th, 2026, and the time is 10:33 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So check in, family. It is Tuesday. Now, one thing we know about Tuesdays is that Tuesdays are generally days where big announcements are made. So I'll pause here and I'll just wait to see who's joining the live, because we can anticipate something will happen today. They love to make announcements on Tuesdays. Hi. Well, we had a big announcement on yesterday, but I am waiting for and anticipating a nice announcement today. And if they don't announce it today, they will announce something on tomorrow because it's the 17th, but something will happen today on the 16th because it's Tuesday. Typically, they make big announcements. I'm talking about the people in power or the so-called elite. So check in. Grand Rising. I see the Reverend Doctor's in the house. Jerry's in the house. And forgive me if I don't see your names clearly because the words are so small. Grand Rising. Happy Tuesday. Can you see me clearly? I am sitting in my car. I just got a strawberry banana smoothie with cacao nibs, some chocolate. I love chocolate. And I'm not wearing my makeup today, so I might look a little different. We're going au natural this rising. It's your birthday. Happy birthday, FBAT. I think that said FBAT. Happy birthday. May your ancestors, you can see clearly, richly bless you with peace, prosperity, and long life. Because we know that the beings in power, they did certain things to try to shorten our telomeres, but we're declaring long life, peace, and prosperity to all those under the sound of my voice. Check in, family. Naturally beautiful. Thank you so much. You said I'm naturally beautiful. Yes, please. Sister Belinda said, please hit the like button. I thank you so much. Who needs makeup ever? Thank you. Oh, I got Flow State. Thank you for the gift. I love that. That's beautiful. So it is Tuesday. Before we get into the report, it's important that I let you all know, first of all, thank you so much. I sincerely appreciate each and every one of you that join in to my lives and that listen to my reports, because without you, honestly, I wouldn't have meaning. My purpose is to liberate the planet, but if nobody would listen, then what would be the purpose of me having come? So I appreciate each and every one of you that listen to what I have to say. And I thank you so much for you taking out the time to share my videos, to like the channel, or even to dialogue in the comment section in the chat. So I want to first say thank you very, very much. I appreciate you. My life that I live purposefully to help liberate the planet is very beneficial only if you receive the information to better your life. So I'm extremely grateful. Thank you so much. I never want to take you for granted, and I always want you to know that I appreciate you. Thank you for saying you appreciate me too. You saw that they took over my X account. Yes. Oh, so I should start a new one? Okay, because I keep appealing, but they haven't responded. So I'll do that. I'll start a new X account because I do give a lot of financial news on my X account, my Twitter account. In fact, I was able to build up my Twitter account to tens of thousands when they shut down my YouTube channels throughout the years. I've had about 8 or more YouTube channels that I've started. They would shut them down and I would restart. So the lesson in that is to keep fighting. And that's something the ancestors keep telling me. I don't even like the fight, but the ancestors keep telling me, keep fighting, keep pushing forward, because the powers that be desire for us to stop. And they desire for us to not push back. But if we just go along with whatever the so-called elite do and we don't push back, they think we're agreeing with them. It's called what? Tacit agreement, to not push back and not say we won't stand for it. But, it's a new era. We're not standing for being silenced. We're not standing for enslavement. We're not standing for being prisoners. We're not standing for taxation. We're not standing for any of that. We're standing for liberation, sovereignty, freedom, peace, and prosperity, because abundance is our birthright. And we're standing on that. And we're declaring, and anybody that comes against it, whether you're human or not, we're pushing back against that. And we're using our power and our ancestral memory and our ancestral powers, whatever you want to call it, to put all of those enslavement tactics to halt, bring them to a screeching halt. So if we desire to usher in our peace, prosperity, freedom, and sovereignty quicker, then what I would encourage us to do is push back against these evil forces and demand what we desire to see. We demand it because we have that power. They know that we're awake now, right? And this is why we're manifesting things quicker. Try it. For real. Think about what it is you desire and watch it happen quicker, because the whole planet is speeding up as we have awakened to our power that's within us. Speak what you desire. Walk like you are the gods and kings and queens that you are. Wear the jewelry and the clothes that emulate the kings and queens that you are. Wear the stones that resonate with who you are and with your birth month. And wear your intentions, as Orisha Stone says. I would encourage you to subscribe to Orisha Stone's channel and find out what type of stones he has and artifacts and metals, because he creates jewelry that resonates with your frequency, your birth month, your zodiac, and your purpose. And his whole motto is wear your intentions. So it's a new day. And we are manifesting so quickly. I'll get into the report in a minute, but I just want to encourage you all, because when I wrote down that I live in a particular community, and I just wrote it down because I thought the community was nice. It resonates with who I am. I like the greenery. I like the fresh fruits and vegetables that are in that area. I like the schools, and because, that means you probably have intelligent people if they're top rated schools. And I just wrote down I live in this particular community. And then I thought nothing about it. But I first moved in a community that was affordable at the time. But I just wrote down that I live in this another community, right? The one I described. Well, after I got my bearings straight in Jacksonville, Florida, I started looking for opportunities to move out of the community, even though I liked it. I lived in the San Marco area. I love San Marco. It's close to downtown. It's close to the south end of Jacksonville. The people there have been in the community a long time. I get along with all the merchants there. We have established great relationships. But as I started getting myself together in terms of making sure my credit was A1, and I've started to make more money, and I became more established in the community, I started looking for a home that is now in my income bracket and aligns with the credit that I have now. I worked on my credit. I had some challenges there where after my husband passed, I don't even know, like blanked out. It was hard to press forward. And even talking about it now brings tears to my eyes. It was just hard to move forward, knowing that my husband was gone, the father of my children, and knowing in my heart that the medical establishment played a part in my husband leaving early around COVID. They put him on a respirator, whatever you call it, without my approval. Even though I clearly marked I did not want him on a respirator, they did it anyway. And I had to fight that whole situation. And I just kind of was on autopilot, not even really paying attention to certain aspects of my life. I kept reporting, I kept doing my job, but in terms of like my credit and certain things, that I got behind, trying to focus on getting my family together. We have 8 children, and I think I have now 8 grandchildren. So trying to get everybody at the same place and healthy and healed after dealing with my husband's passing took a lot of energy. And at the same time, I was still doing my work, reporting the news, and a substitute school teacher. Also, when I wasn't called to work, homeschooling my grandchildren. And as you all know, I'm very, very strong in my beliefs when it comes to family. And how I feel is that family have to come together, because strong, healthy families create or lead to strong, healthy communities, which leads to a strong, healthy society. So I decided to focus on my family and still do my work. All the work that I wrote a book, I was just doing a lot of coaching and counseling, but some things slipped, and one of the things was I got behind on some of my bills, which can affect your credit. So now that my husband has been, has transitioned, it's been like 4 or 5 years now. I've been focusing on credit, even though I do not like credit. I don't like the idea of credit, but I'm gonna get to the story. I focused on my credit and got it taken care of, and worked on some things while I was still working. And my son is an economist, my youngest son, so he helped me and get my money together. And so I said, okay, now I am finally able to live the way I desire to live. And so while I was looking for the cost of homes, I found homes in the community that I had written down years ago. And I said, if these homes in the community I desire to live is around the same as the other communities, I want to go to the community I desire to live. And it just so happened the home that I found was right with where I could afford. And the one home I chose, it seemed like it just popped up one day on my feed, was right in the what you call the price range that I desired. And I said, I had spoken to the ancestors. I said, I need 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. And I started naming all this. I need a lanai. I need a yard space for the grandchildren. And I said, and I need it within this certain amount of money. And I kid you not, as I was scrolling on my phone looking for homes, I couldn't find it anywhere. But I just spoke into Google, and I said, where can I find a home with this, that, and that? And the exact location that I had spoken when I first moved up popped up. And I looked at the homes, and there was one that met every single criteria. And I said, I had written down this particular community 4 years ago, but it wasn't until this year, last month, that I actually said, this is what I need. How many bedrooms, how many bathrooms? I need a lanai, which is like a enclosed patio. And I need it in this particular community, right near a certain, university. Everything I spoke just last month came up like that. The point is, family, is that we have moved into an era in which you can and will manifest whatever you desire very quickly. Say it, speak it, think it, write it. The scripture says, write the vision, make it plain. So I wrote down exactly what I desired. And then when I got my mind to where I could focus on my credit and making enough money to meet that type of criteria to live in this neighborhood, it just happened quickly. Like I said, I just thought about it just last month and said, I made the vision clear. I wrote it down 4 years ago or 5 years ago, but I didn't speak specifically as to what I desired until last month. And the end of last month is when I was approved for that home. And it just seems like, it's not seems like, it is the reality now that you and I can speak whatever we desire, because now we're accessing the power that's within. We're not going to God groveling and begging and beseeching and I implore you. No, we're saying this is what I desire and this is what I will have. So I encourage you to write it down, think about it, write it down, say it, and then walk as if it is already here. Walk as if you are in the present moment of your blessing, whatever it is. And there may be some work that we have to do, because faith without works is dead, being alone. So you might have to do some work to get to where you want. Yeah, you might have to. So for me, it makes sense for me to get my credit up to a certain standard, because we're living in that reality right now. And if you get any pushback, keep pushing forward. Keep pressing for. I press towards the mark of the high calling. Whatever it is that you desire, push forward, okay? There will be distractions that will come. There will be certain things that will try to get in your way. Push forward. No matter what, because you will have all the things that you desire. When the biblical Christ rose from the dead, he said, all power has been given unto me. You have all power within you. This is what the beings that were in power, the powers that were, tries to keep us from knowing. So they have us looking to a God outside of ourselves. They have us looking up in heaven, up in the sky. They have us looking everywhere except within. So my encouragement is that we look within. We're living in a highly manifestational time period. Know that. Okay? Know that. Y'all talking about them folks, how they took certain things away from us. And so sometimes you have to remember, and we have to remind each other. So one day I woke up and the ancestor said, tell the people, keep fighting. And I don't even like using that word fighting. I like to just manifest, and everything is just wishes and rainbows and flowers and honey and spice and sugar and spice and everything nice. But no, we literally have to fight. And refuse to give our consent. I do not consent to propaganda. I do not consent to energy harvesting. I do not consent to power over me. I do not consent to paying taxes. I do not consent to enslavement. I consent to my liberation, freedom, prosperity, and peace, because abundance is my birthright. Period. Sometimes you'll have to write it down exactly where you see yourself being. Write down whatever you desire, because if something happens with writing it down, you can write it down. You can create a vision board where you actually put pictures to what it is you desire and get creative with it. You can create sigils. Look up sigil magic. They'll tell you stay away from magic, but creating sigils of symbols that represent your desires is something that the ancestors gave to us, because our first language was numbers and symbols. So if you write things down as you see them and live in the present moment as if it's already here, because it is. Doesn't matter what it looks like to the natural eye. Doesn't matter if nobody else sees it. You know it to be so. Write it down, create a vision board, look up vision boards. And we gave that as a homework assignment the other day. And as you're writing it down and creating the vision board and creating the sigils or the logos that represent where you see yourself in the future or even in the present, as you write it down, create boards, create art pieces or sigils to represent where you are, or even write it in a journal. I am wealthy. I woke up this morning. The sun is shining brightly. I see a rainbow over the building to the east. I turn to my companion and kiss my companion good morning. And then we walk into the breakfast nook and have a cup of tea. Like, write it down if journaling is your thing, and write it in detail and attach joyful emotions to what it is you envision in your head, or wrote in a sigil, or wrote in a journal, or created on your vision board. Attach joyful emotions, and that will manifest quickly, and it will disturb the atmosphere around you that tried to create a reality that does not align with what you just created for yourself. This is what Abraham Hicks was talking about when it talks about different laws manifesting. You think it, you write it down, and you attach joyful emotions to it. And you literally live in that moment as if it were, because it is real. We're going to talk about Israel, the other Israel, but it is real. Isis Rael, it is real. And it likely has manifested in another reality. You're likely living that reality in another reality. But you're going to bring it into this reality because it's what you desire, and you are a creator God. When Genesis talked about having dominion, it means having all power. Like the Christ said, all power is given unto me. You literally have power. We used to know this and remember this. We used to know that we had power because we could fly. We could regrow our limbs. We could teleport. But there have been different things, the paradigms, propaganda, poisons in the food, the air, and the water to keep us from doing that. The Anunnaki and other extraterrestrial beings have used their advanced technology to try to disturb the atmosphere so that we could forget our ability to manifest our desires. But you know what? A lot of them have been taken out of here. And now it's up to us to utilize the power that's within to manifest what we desire. So I wanted to lead with that and to give everybody the opportunity to come into the room, because family, for the first time in my life, I am finally at the stage where I've always envisioned myself. For the first time in my life, I finally have the peace that I desire, the family cohesiveness that I desire, the finances that I desire. I'm leading up to getting where we're all going to be wealthy. It looks like I'm not there yet, but I am. Okay. But it took a lot of work. It took rejecting propaganda. It took demanding peace, prosperity, sovereignty, and wealth, not just for me and my family, but for the whole world, and standing 10 toes down, no matter how much the deep state pushed against me. I've had my accounts, money in my accounts frozen. I've had places that owed me money, like YouTube and other platforms, to refuse to pay me tens of thousands of dollars owed to me. I was evicted from a place, even though everything was paid up full. They took my husband. But 10 toes down, I said, I will not stop fighting for humanity. I will continue to fight. I will continue to declare peace. I will continue to declare prosperity. I will continue to declare wealth. And I will live the example before the people. Because one thing I learned from just what's within me, and from an Austrian psychiatrist, Viktor Frankl, he said they can abuse me, brutalize me, take away from me. They can harm my body, but they can't harm my soul. And my soul is full of love for humanity. This is why I came, to help liberate humanity, to raise the vibrational frequencies of the entire planet, so that we can thrive and live in abundance that our creators intended for us to live. So here we are, Even though we were speaking about prosperity, peace, liberation, I was talking about planetary liberation, a gold standard, a return to precious metals that the Most High and our creators gave to us. I was speaking about this for nearly a decade. I was speaking about gold since 2014. We weren't on a gold standard, but today, 45 states in America have removed the state sales taxes from precious metals, thus reclaiming gold and silver as money. Why? Because we declared it to be so. It didn't matter that the deep state said not so, or the New World Order said, make them, they will be poor and happy. I knew my purpose because my creators came to me. Extraterrestrial beings literally came to me and visited me and said, these are your orders. You are to liberate humanity. And this is what you ought to tell them, that the New World Order that set themselves up to enslave humanity, their powers are over, and you're going to help liberate humanity by raising the vibrational frequencies of the planet. You're going to teach them about wealth. You're going to teach them how to eat well. You're going to teach them how to think well. You're going to bring their families back together. You're going to teach them how to protect their wealth and their health. And we're going to help you. And as much as you all raise your vibrational frequency of the planet, this is what these beings came to me and said. They were called the Falcons. When you raise your vibrational frequencies, we will use those frequencies to help you. But we're not going to do it without your help, is what they told me. Everybody under the sound of your voice, Kia, will have to raise their frequencies, and we will use that energy to liberate you, just like the nefarious beings use negative energy to control you. We're going to use your powerful energy, your high vibrational frequencies to liberate you. They use negative energy to enslave you. We're using powerful, positive energy to empower you and liberate you. And they told me all these things that we're telling you, you are to tell people as many as possible. That's when I started my YouTube channel. And we got pushback. I'm not the only one. A lot of you have been telling your families the same thing. We got pushback. We were mistreated. They took away our channels. They took away our money. Some of them took away our family members because they said, if I can get their family members to turn against them, then I can stop them. But we refused to give in. We fought back. Congratulations, family. We made it. We've reached a critical mass now where we've made it. We will have prosperity and abundance and peace. Now, all the things we've been talking about for over a decade, we're seeing in our reality. Thank you, Brother Tony Hood, for the blessing. The $20 super chat. Creator bless you with prosperity, long life, and peace. We have made it. Congratulations, family. So it doesn't matter what they say. Even when mainstream media finally decides, I need the air, to report news, they will say things like, but Trump's brokered peace in the Middle East, but here are the negative consequences of gold being spoken about. Now you might have high inflation, anything to try to get us to be angry, full of anxiety and depression, or upset and traumatized, because all of those things, as I keep saying, cause us to emit loosh or psychic negative energy from our being. When you're stressed out from paying taxes, or you feel depressed, or you feel like you've been overcome and you can't make it, we emit psychic energy called loosh, and those beings in power absorb that energy and they become bigger and we'll start to shrink. Thank you. I'm trying to read you, darling. Trying to read what you said. And just like that says, you are such a prosperous, liberating inspiration. Soul family, please give your gold and silver. Get your gold and silver. I've purchased from Miles Franklin on many occasions. Thank you. Miles Franklin Precious Metals Company is a company with whom I'm an affiliate. They've been in business for over nearly 4 decades. They have an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau and never had a customer complaint. You can reach them if you desire silver and gold, or you want a gold IRA at 952-929-7006. 952-9. 952-929-7006, or you can send an email to info@milesfranklin.com. INFO, Miles is spelled MILES, FRANKLIN. That's milesfranklin.com. Let them know that Dr. Kia Pruitt referred you, and you will get the best prices in the industry. I've had Andy on my show many times. The reason why we don't consistently do shows anymore is because I got shut down from YouTube for telling everybody to get gold and silver. And one time I got shut down one of my YouTube channels because I read a letter from Andy's father, David Sheckman, who founded Miles Franklin Precious Metals Company. I said, the time is now. The time is now. We're going to move to the gold standard. Central banks are rushing to gold. And while I was reading that report, YouTube shut my channel down because the beings in power did not want us to have silver and gold in our possession. Let me tell you something, family. Silver, gold, copper, and these precious metals and precious stones all raise our frequencies, open up our pineal gland, heals certain diseases on contact. Doctors used to prescribe copper, drinking out of copper, wearing copper bracelets to raise your iron levels if you had low iron and to help you if you had joint pain. Stones used to be worn to help you manifest quickly, to help you ascend in consciousness. These things were taken away from us, not just because it's money, but it's wealth in other ways. Everybody used to drink out of copper cups. I remember that time. We all had silverware. Our grandparents did, and silver utensils. They wore gold. They had gold and silver coins. They took it from us. But the good news is it's being returned back to people all across the globe. If you desire to get ahead of that time, get you some silver and gold from Miles Franklin Precious Metals Company and mention that Dr. Kia Pruitt referred to. You heard about it on the Dr. Kia Pruitt show. Or you can also go to your local coin shop, because it's not about just mentioning me. Go to your local coin shop and establish a relationship with your local coin company. Here's the thing. People have asked me if we're all going to be wealthy through NESARA and DESARA, like you say, Dr. Pruitt, and if you're correct about a universal high income and everybody in the nation and in the world receiving allotments of money from their sovereign wealth funds, why do we need gold and silver? Well, you don't have to get gold and silver, but you can accumulate it so you can pass it down to your posterity, your future generations, your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren. You want to accumulate something to pass down to them. A good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. A good woman, the scripture says, or a wise parent leaves an inheritance for their posterity. And here's what's even better, in my humble opinion or strong opinion, is when you accumulate wealth like silver and gold and other precious metals and stones and artifacts, you are accumulating something so that you can use it not only to pass down to your posterity, you can use it to barter with, and you can use it in your fund or in your trust to help liberate other communities and other families all across the globe. Because we speak of the St. Germain Trust, the Rodriguez Trust, yes? The Ancient Dragon White Society. We speak of all these trusts, the Sovereign Wealth Fund. We speak of all these familial family trusts and dynasties trusts of money that's going to liberate humanity. But where do you think the trust comes from? It comes from families that accumulated wealth over time, and they didn't use it just for themselves. They designated a portion of that wealth for humanitarian purposes. Thank you, families that thought ahead. We're talking about dynasties that have accumulated wealth for hundreds and thousands of years, full of precious metals, precious stones, rare earth minerals, oil, land, all of that. They designated a portion for humanity. So if you start accumulating wealth now and you teach your family and your posterity through family governance meetings how to accumulate and protect wealth, it's not just to make them wealthy. It's because you never know what time period and eras are coming in the future that will need and require wealth, gold, silver, precious stones, artifacts. Because these aren't just used to wear or adorn yourself or use as money. It's used to cleanse the water. It's used to purify the water. It's used to drink out of. It's used as medicine. We have silver and gold receptors in our brain. This is the real reason why it was taken from us. Remember, the Anunnaki came to Earth to cause the people, the beings that were on Earth, to mine gold because they needed gold for their environment, to cure their environment. So when I say, please get silver and gold, I'm not saying it just to accumulate wealth, just to wear or just to have. We're all going to be wealthy, but I'm trying to seed in your consciousness that these are the metals and the materials that will raise the vibrational frequencies of the planet, that will cure, that will, yes, heal, and that will continuously heal humanity in this age and in the ages to come. Because while many of us have been thinking about the weekend or a 5-year plan or a 10-year plan, you have whole dynasties that build and think about a 100-year plan, a 1,000-year plan, a 1,000,000-year plan. I met a gentleman in 2012 who was a physicist, I think it's called. He had a PhD in physics, and his dad was an engineer. His dad was a mason, and he studied masonry. This young man, from the time he was like real small, because of who his dad was, prominent people in Chicago, and he told me at that time that he studied a lot of different dynasties and empires. And he told me that if you work for a Japanese company, for which he had worked at some time, in management, you have to read all of their books on how to get ahead 100 years from that particular time period. Because this particular family for whom he worked had 1,000-year plans for their family and their company. So every manager that worked with that company or did business with their company had to understand and understand how to think ahead beyond 100 and 1,000 years. So my point is, they have us thinking about, what we're going to do in a weekend, what's the 5-year plan, and that does serve a purpose. But what are you going to do 100 years from now? What are we going to do 1,000 years from now if these beings that enslave the planet ever try to come back? We have to have things in place. This is where family governance meetings come in, where you literally teach your family values surrounding health, surrounding money, surrounding asset protection, surrounding food, surrounding how to live and survive off the land. So you have to have a mission statement and a vision statement for yourself, and a mission and vision statements for your family. Because if you don't have a purpose, a mission, or a vision, somebody else will create one for you, and you'll find yourself following other people and building up their empire. The time for that is over. No government now is going to control you unless you allow it. Governments that were owned by corporations, they're all collapsing all across the globe. And now you will govern yourself. How will you govern yourself? How will you govern or manage your money now that we're all going to be wealthy? And we know it's happening, because the whole world is hurtling back to gold as money. You could read that in the King's World article. King's World. The world is hurtling back towards gold as money. That means the whole world is rushing back to using gold to barter for money. And here's the thing. If you say, Pruitt, I cannot afford gold and silver, instead of saying I can't afford it, ask yourself, how can I? Because you're just getting ahead of where everybody's going to be. Okay. How can I afford gold? Well, when I first started talking about this, I told everybody there's something called gold aurum notes or gold backs. That's 24 carats of gold on the notes, 24 karat, that you can use right now today to buy local goods and services. In my private group, I talked about how to barter with gold and silver right now. Gold backs now is now you hear about it. Or if you don't hear about it, you can look it up, and now it's evident. But when I was talking about it in 2014, 2015, 2016, and 2017, it looked like I was making things up. Back then, there were 13 states, 13 colonies, 13 states that legalized silver and gold as legal tender, meaning back then you could buy local goods and services with silver and gold. Now there are 45 states that have legalized silver and gold as legal tender, meaning you can buy local goods and services with silver and gold. How can you do that? If you go to, we talk about this in my private group. If you want to join, hit the join button on any of my videos or on my Dr. Kia Pruitt show. And we talk about where you can go to actually put your zip code in, and it will tell you all the merchants in your state that accept silver and gold as money. You can go online and buy gold backs right now, 24 karat gold. One gold back note is about $8 or $9 right now. When I first started talking about gold backs or gold aurum notes, they were $1. Now they're $8 or $9. You can literally buy local goods and services with it. But even if your merchants won't take them right now, why not buy a few? If you have money, gift a few, because you're teaching people how to look at gold and silver as money. See, when I first started talking about this, I was giving away silver coins, giving away a gold note, even though we weren't on the gold standard and the silver standard, preparing people's consciousness for that. Excuse me. This is what Corona was all about in 2020. It's a banking term or an elite term. Corona, remember they called the sickness, the virus, Corona? Remember they had the drink, Corona drink behind a picture of George Floyd when he was assassinated? Corona means crown, as in your crown chakra is being activated in this new age of Aquarius and the age of disclosure. Now we have the movie called Disclosure coming out that just came out. Corona means crown, as in gold, as in crown chakra being activated, as in Christos consciousness awakening, as we're ascending in consciousness and knowing that we are the gods for whom we've been looking. We are the Savior for whom we've been looking. Corona means crown, as in royalty, regal, kings and queens. Look at my video that I uploaded. Hear me. Everything is being returned back. Looks like I'm having some issues with my am I having issues with my internet? Let me know if you can hear me clearly. Please like and subscribe, tap on the screen. So Corona means crown and crown chakra. Okay, our crown chakra is being activated. Thank you. We're ascending in consciousness. We're waking up. Remember the scripture that says a trumpet Archangel Michael will sound the trumpet, as in Donald Trump. Archangel Michael, a little bit is breaking up, will sound the trumpet, and that will alert to the second coming of Christ. In other words, the trumpet will sound, the people will awaken, the Christos consciousness, the second coming of Christ. They will awaken to who they are. They can no longer be controlled. The dead in Christ will rise first, and then those that are alive and remain will be caught up to meet him in the air. The metaphysics of that is a trumpet, an alarm will sound against this enslavement system, and the people will have a Christ consciousness awakening. knowing that they have full control of their lives and their sovereign beings. That's the Christos consciousness. The dead in Christ will rise first. Those who had no idea what was going on, they were asleep. They will arise, and those that are alive and remain will be caught up to meet him in the air. We will all ascend in Christ in consciousness as the whole planet is ascending. And then the scripture in Revelation says, then your body will be changed in a moment, in a twinkling of an eye. What is that change? In the church, in the Pentecostal world, they call it the translation of the saints, when your body will be changed in a moment, in a twinkling of an eye. Metaphysically, your body is to a crystalline state. That's why a lot of you are tired right now, because your body is going through a transition from carnality and mere flesh and blood to becoming crystalline. Well, now you can manifest quicker. Now you don't need as much food. Now you can't tolerate poison. You don't like processed food. Certain meats you can't eat. Certain energies you can't be around, because your body is having an upgrade. Your telomeres are growing so you can live longer. And now many of you are drinking and eating colloidal gold, colloidal silver, monoatomic gold, monoatomic silver, monoatomic copper, and you're wearing it. So if you desire to get silver and gold, like somebody said in the comment section, you can get it from Miles Franklin Precious Metals Company, 952-929-7006, or send an email to info@milesfranklin.com and let them know Dr. Kia Pruitt referred you. If gold and silver are something that's just not in your budget and you still desire to get it, and you may have asked yourself, how can I afford it? Because I desire to have it around me. You can go to an antique shop. You can go to a pawn shop. You can get sterling silver, which is 92% silver. You can get constitutional silver or junk silver, which is 90% silver. You can get silverware, silver jewelry. You can get gold backs. You can go to your local coin shop and get gold backs or gold Arum notes, or you can get copper, because copper has been used as money before. We went over that in my private group. When in history has copper been used as money, and what did that look like? And why is copper added to the United States critical minerals list? The gold and silver is ours. They cannot take it without asking. Thank you for that. Yeah, you can get constitutional silver. So let me see why why this is glitchy. I was going to try to see. Hold on, let me see if my internet is working. Hold on, family. I had to go back and turn on my mobile hotspot, but I still look glitchy. I turned on my mobile hotspot and I still see an interruption in the internet. So let me see what I can do. I'm trying to fix it for you. I'm trying my best. Hold on. I tried, babes, family. Can you see me now? The copper penny represents copper colored people. Moving in slow motion. I can see from the screen. So let me just go on and get to, now that we have over 200 people in the comment section, y'all can see me now. Thank you so much. I can tell I'm moving in slow motion. Are we good now? Somebody said we're good now, Kia. Thank you. Okay, so the United States and Iran reached a peace deal, a preliminary peace agreement, which is good news for the whole planet. Please hit the like button. What is your Cash App? They're blocking my super chats. I'm sorry to hear they're blocking a super chat. Okay, they say keep talking. My Cash App, thank you so much for asking, is $ Mama Kia 13. $MAMAKIA 13. MAMAKIA 13. If you want to send a gift through PayPal, it's my email address is, I think you can use it by my email address is kiapruitt@gmail.com. But Mama Kia 13, MAMAKIA 13. So the United States, this is important news, has reached a preliminary peace deal with Iran. Now remember, Project Sandman was a peace agreement, a secret peace agreement between 209 nations that, when triggered, they would stop trading with the United States dollar in order to collapse the Federal Reserve central banking system and bankrupt the United States Incorporated, and use their own gold-backed currencies for trade. They will also revalue their currencies against the United States dollar so that they can then thrive and trade. The second part of Project Sandman is that they all agreed to world peace. This is why President Donald Trump created the Board of Peace. And the Board of Peace substitutes for NATO and all those international organizations that were against us. President Trump removed us from 66 international organizations and created a Board of Peace, he said, in order to reinstitute our sovereignty as a nation. To reinstitute, to resurrect our sovereignty, he removed us from 66, you see the number 6, international organization, and created the Board of Peace, which is now comprised of many nations, in order to align with, this is now my commentary, Operation Sandman or Project Sandman. Project Sandman was the agreement between 209 nations to, when triggered, stop trading with the dollar and use their own local currencies for trade. Why did they have to stop trading with the USD? The USD is a fiat-based system backed by nothing that was incorporated and instituted by the United States Incorporated, that group of bloodline families that usurped authority from our lawful republic, our lawful government. They created themselves as a corporation, incorporated in 1871 as a religious nonprofit organization, and they created their own constitution of the United States Corporation, where they have statutes, privileges, codes, legalities, and policies. And they utilize policy enforcers, also known as police officers, to enforce their policies. They have a constitution called the Constitution of the United States Incorporated. We have a republic, and we have laws, not policy, statutes, and codes, and we have a constitution for our republic. Two separate things. We acknowledge sovereignty and rights, not citizenship and privileges. So what made the United States Incorporated the entity with power, because it's not a country, it's a corporation, is that they had an agreement with Saudi Arabia to protect the Saudi kingdom in exchange for their oil. And they used the oil as leverage. They forced all countries to get oil only from Saudi Arabia. I'm getting hot. And they had to use the United States dollar, their currency, to get the oil. They couldn't get oil from Venezuela. They couldn't get oil from Iraq. They couldn't get oil from America. They could only get oil from Saudi Arabia. That gave the United States Incorporated financial and economic hegemony. I see I'm glitching here. That's a shame. And it made their dollar, the USD, the world reserve currency. I don't know why I'm glitching. I apologize for that. So I need to hurry up with this report. Let me see if I still have hotspot. Hold on 1 minute. So my mobile hotspot is still on. I don't know why I'm glitching. So I'll just keep, you said, turn my AC on. Thank you so much, because I'm hot. Okay, so the United States and Iran reached a preliminary peace deal. And this is called a Memorandum of Understanding. That's an MOU. It was designated to end the conflict that was going on between the United States and Iran. This reopens the Strait of Hormuz to global shipping. Global shipping and global trade is a symbol of global and world peace. Here are the implications. When you reopen the Strait of Hormuz, This ends the United States naval blockade of Iranian ports, number one. It extends the current ceasefire between the two nations, and it puts an end to hostilities across all fronts. This agreement mandates a 60-day negotiation period regarding Iran's nuclear program as well. And this will possibly lead to a release of frozen funds and sanctions from Iran. If they can agree to our demands, then Iran sanctions will be lifted. The funds that have been frozen will continue to flow through Iran. The ports will be open and people will be able to have global trade through the Strait of Hormuz. Now, while the agreement has been signed, the formal details will be finalized and signed in Geneva. What are more implications? This brings global relief to the world. This means oil prices will now be significantly lower and people will be able to conduct business. This agreement between Iran and the United States to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, again, will bring down the oil prices. You all can tell me in the comment section the implications of lower oil prices. They use oil for lots of things. This will reverse economic problems, according to economists. And this will cause stress in the global economy to cease. This will lead to cheaper fuel at the pump, the gas pump. It will reduce global inflation. How will it reduce global inflation? Because lower energy costs reduce the expenses that are associated with manufacturing and transportation or transporting of agricultural products. This will directly ease global pressure on global food prices and supply chains. So the food prices will go down. Oil prices will go down. Inflation will go down. And we'll have lower energy crisis and people's money will go further. Developing economies will now start to do better as global trade will continue with the Strait of Hormuz being open. This will replenish reserves and inventories. Importing nations can now take advantage of stabilized routes to refill their depleted strategic petroleum. So this is a beautiful peace deal between the United States and Iran, but Israel is giving us some pushback. They refuse to bow. We're getting strong opposition from Israel because right after this peace deal was announced, Israel went and struck. Some people say Lebanon, some people say Beirut. So if Israel strikes at Beirut right after this happens, basically they're saying, we don't care about your agreement between the United States and Iran. They continue to push back. But here's the thing, we don't negotiate with terrorists. Okay, you can push back against the United States and say you don't want that strait open. But again, we don't negotiate with terrorists. Ministers say that Israel will not be bound by an Iranian deal. Arrogance, the flagrancy, the arrogance. Reports say that defense ministers, and one particular, Israel Katz, vowed on Monday, that Israel's military will remain in the southern Lebanon, and he warned that if Iran strikes them, it will be hit with full force. Israel continues to be a problem. Israel is promising that they will resist any pressure despite the United States and Iranian. But that would mean we have to take strong force against Israel. Since they're causing this type of pushback and promising that they're going to resist any pressure and go against any peace deals, it makes me wonder, what did that guy with an H that rhymed with Schmittler have against Israel? You know how the Bible says, I know those who say that they are Jews but are not, but in fact are the synagogue of Satan? What did the H man have against Israel? The Z words, Zionists, that continues to fight against peace. What did he have against them? It makes you wonder if he was the criminal that they said that he was. Because we know Israel was given the state of that Palestinian region by the Rockefellers, who were in control of the British throne. What was that deal where they gave Israel, was it the Balfour Agreement? Where they gave that area in the Palestinian region, and that agreement said, it wasn't even agreement, where the Pope gave, because he was a Rothschild, gave those people that part of land. They said, oh, but we won't encroach upon the freedoms of the Palestinian people. We're only going to take a small segment and we won't hurt them, when in fact they went against every single thing they said they would not do. They unalived them, they stole their resources, and they oppressed the Palestinian people. What did the H-man have against Israel, who has an ought against peace, who is in opposition to world peace? But you know, they said Israel is last. And one thing we know about President Donald Trump and the military and the Galactic Federation is they will not be defeated. Israel will be last. Better believe that. So it doesn't matter if they're pushing back. Now we're going to have to take extraordinary measures against the state of Israel. And they will bow and they will kiss the feet of those in power now who are bringing about world peace. So I looked it up. What would we have to do to force Israel to bow? Well, we're going to have to end militarization. I was like, what does that mean? We got to end military aid, because the United States was actually giving Israel military aid, $38 billion in annual defense aid. So the deep state part of the United States Incorporated that's been in bed with Israel, they got to bow, and the military have to force Israel to bow and withdraw that $38 billion annual defense aid that they were giving Israel. That's why people think Donald Trump is in bed with Israel, because the United States Incorporated is in bed with Israel. But remember, Trump is he's a head of the military. He's in charge of the military, right? So as he's in charge of the military, we're under military operation. He and the military, they're going to have to bring Israel to their knees. So you got to do three things, at least maybe three or four. End military aid to Israel, leverage the UN veto power against Israel, restrict economic ties with Israel, and impose secondary sanctions on Israel. Four things. Take away the aid. Why was the United States giving Israel aid? Israel, the Zionists, who controlled politics, controlled medicine, controlled the entertainment industry, music, art, Hollywood, controlled health, controlled everything here. Why was the United States Incorporated giving them $38 billion in annual defense aid? We got to remove that, leverage the UN veto against them, leverage UN veto, restrict economic ties, and impose secondary sanctions. Just like we sanctioned Iraq and Iran and all these other nations, sanctions have to be put on Israel. And what I'm imploring us to do today, or strongly encouraging us to do today, is to manifest that we are free from Israel now and forevermore. We have to demand liberation. We have to command liberation, sovereignty, and freedom. We have to think about it. We have to live in that reality in our minds and command it to be so. Hashtag freedom now. If you're with me, in the comment section, in the chat, we are free. Freedom now. It makes us remember what Sheikh Jacob said about H. H is the reversal. What did Schmittler have against Israel? Could it be that they were unaliving the people in Germany and otherwise? Could it be that they were in control of the harvesting of organs and humans and poisoning them? I don't know. But we know that they're pushing back against peace now in our reality. But Israel will be saved for last, and they will be dealt with. Speaking of people in power who have taken control over us, we have spoken about how the borders were flooded with foreign nationals and how President Trump and the military and ICE have worked hard against these foreign nationals taking control of our lands here, and they're taking control of other countries as well. Trump was granted $70 billion to assist him in immigration enforcement, to close our borders, secure our borders, and get rid of the foreign nationals that are working against us here in our own countries. They've been using H-1B visas to come over here, create shell corporations that are not real, can get grant money, funding, and welfare benefits for them and all their family members to live off the fat of the land and to be over businesses. They've overtaken most East Indians, but there are other foreign nationals, but we're going to focus on the East Indians today because they're in the news if you look them up. A lot of them, as Chief Mack and I reported the other day, look up our video, they were receiving fake medical degrees. Indians were selling fake medical degrees. East Indians in Asia were selling fake medical degrees, fake nurses license, and allowing their people to come over here and practice medicine on we the people. And their target was so-called black people, people classified as black, and poor whites. Let me tell you something about these people. They don't even like poor whites. You know what they used to call them when I was growing up? They called them po white trash. Not even poor white trash. They called them po white trash. This is what the foreign nationals and even some of the so-called superior Caucasians called their own people. They didn't care about anybody. And they called the people classified as black, the indigenous people, Iganes, ninjas. This medicine and target we the people, the indigenous so-called blacks and the po whites that they call po white trash. Y'all might not remember that. I remember I was born in 68. I remember them calling them po white trash. They didn't care nothing about them. They will inflict, and these people come over here from other nations, these foreign nationals, these immigrants, and they will use white status on their documentation, call themselves white, try to align themselves with whiteness, but go against the whites that they claim to be associated with. But the poor ones, they call them po white trash. And they were practicing medicine on us and the indigenous people here, misclassified as black, African American, Negro, and colored. To this date, we have more than 5.2 million Indians from Asia, East Indians, on our lands, pretending to be Indians because we the real Indians, the indigenous people of America. Did they come here to supplant us? Because they are practicing medicine on us and unaliving us. You're talking about millions of misdiagnoses because these people are using fake medical degrees, fake nursing degrees to come over here and practice medicine on us and get welfare, temporary assistance to needy families, food stamps, government aid, H-1B visas, and they would just renew them every other year so they can live off the fat of the land that was stolen from us, from our colonizers, and given to them so that they can have multi-generational living on our lands. Arrogant about it. If you just learn how to be like us Indians and marry and have 2-family households and have our values, you all can be wealthy too, is what they told me in my own comment section. While they're living off stolen land and practicing medicine illegally. Don't believe it? Look it up. Millions of them, millions of misdiagnoses. And they're not just getting H-1B visas to go into medicine, baby. They go into finance. If you can't remember what they go into, look at FEMA, F-E-M-A. That'll help you remember FEMA. Remember President Trump said he's creating FEMA camps? Look at my video section. You'll see FEMA camps. Where Mark Christopher Christian said, I am designating President Trump to create FEMA camps from the foreign nationals that are unlawfully and illegally here on these lands that have enslaved the American people. Look at that video, short video. That he created FEMA camps, that could be codes. Because they went into finances, engineering, medicine, and architect. Isn't that something? Finance, engineering, medicine, and architecture. They're controlling our finances. They're controlling the infrastructure because they went into engineering. They're controlling the medicine and the architecture. That's also infrastructure or the building of homes. The H-1 visas went to Indians for the most part, so they can go into those 4 disciplines and industries, enrich themselves, get lots of money and government benefits, and live off the lands and bring their family members here and have their babies here so they can have birthright citizenship using the 14th Amendment. That wasn't ratified, by the way, so that means it's unconstitutional, unlawful, and treasonous to use the 14th Amendment. Wasn't ratified, it's unconstitutional, but we'll play along. Even if it was ratified, the 14th Amendment was for children of African-American slaves after the Civil War and nobody else. But the immigrants who are now attorneys and the foreign people on our lands, whether you can look like you're American or not, or you be a U.S. citizen or foreign national, if you have a law degree, if you are an attorney or a judge and you pass the bar, that means you had to pass the British accredited registry, which means you work for the British Crown, which means you are a foreign enemy to we the people, maybe unbeknownst to you. And you have to stand down. You can't work here. You might be retrained in constitutional law, but you're illegal and unlawful and treasonous, and you cannot have a title of nobility like Esquire, which lawyers and judges have. You can have a title of nobility and serve we the people according to the Constitution for our republic. Now, we don't care what the United States Constitution says, because that is an unlawful treasonous entity that has been overturned by the Supreme Court of the United States in June 2024. So all 445 of those government agencies have to cease and desist. And all policy enforcers and court officials must stand down, which is why you saw 80,000 Department of Justice folk walk out between last year and this year. They didn't have a problem with Pam Bondi, the then Attorney General. They walked out because they have to stand down. So you have these foreign nationals on our lands, use immigration attorneys to allow them to stay here, even though they're here unlawfully. So now you see it's being revealed that they've been practicing medicine here illegally. And I want you to look it up. We'll go into this report a little later. That now the government, not the government, ICE, that was funded $70 billion, is now taking down people who had the H-1B visas. Most of them are Indians, but you have other foreign nationals. They're literally taking them down because they got illegal H-1B visas. They've been practicing here illegally. They've been working in finance. A lot of them that was working in finances now are being arrested, and their assets are being frozen. You can look it up. You can look it up. So you have all these foreign nationals that were allowed to flood our borders, come into our country, practice medicine, go into the finance industry, have bank accounts where they were laundering money, own commercial properties, live off the land, bring their family members here, have family homesteads and all these big family compounds, and just live lavishly here while laughing in our faces, poison us with the medicine that they were using, and some of us poison us in the food. It's all being revealed now. That's why President Trump said they all got to go. And you can look it up. He's not only questioning birthright citizenship, he's also questioning naturalization. And some of the people that have been naturalized are now being denaturalized because all of this is unlawful. Even if you say it was legal, legalities are associated with the United States Incorporated, that fake faux entity that usurped authority from our lawful republic and established themselves as a nonprofit religious organization in the state of Delaware with the Pope as their leader. Well, 2024 of June, the Supreme Court of the United States overturned the Chevron doctrine, which had given the United States Incorporated unlimited power. And they said, we're doing away with that. We're overturning all of that. And we're demanding that they stand down because that entity is unlawful, unconstitutional, and treasonous. And every judge that went along with the United States Incorporated also committed treason. And every judge that knew of a judge that went along with anything that they did committed misprision of treason. Overturned the whole thing and said all 445 government agencies have to stand down. 2024. That was in June. Then in July, the Supreme Court of the United States came back and they said now state-sponsored banks are now sovereign and they're run by the people of the state. State-sponsored banks can operate independently from and outside of the Federal Reserve central banking system that was associated with the United States Incorporated. They can have their own charter, the state-sponsored banks now, and issue out their own gold-backed currencies. This is why over the last 10 years, you can look it up, central banks across the globe, including here in America, have accumulated gold and silver in record numbers, preparing to take down the Federal Reserve because, as Q said, they can call us crazy or not, we have the gold, and gold will destroy the Fed. This is why President Trump has taken inventory of the gold in Fort Knox, which at the last time it was assessed the value to the gold. Before we came off the gold standard, gold was valued at $24, between $24 and $35. Some reports say between $24 and $42 per ounce. It's outdated because now it's valued at over $4,300 an ounce. And we know they're suppressing the prices of gold and silver. So it's really valued at between $10,000 and $100,000 per ounce. So we got billions and trillions worth in gold that they're not even reporting about. That's why President Trump has asked for the inventory of the gold in Fort Knox. And nobody's talking about the inventory that he asked about the gold in the Grand Canyon, where the mummies are, where Egypt is, where the pyramids are, where our ancestors ruled. He asked for the inventory there too, because he's going to use the gold to destroy the Federal Reserve central banking system. The Federal Reserve central banking system and United States Incorporated are both insolvent, can't pay their debts, out of money, and defunct. They no longer exist. That's why we're under a government shutdown right now. I think people forgot we're under a partial government shutdown. That's why people are losing their jobs. Government workers are being told to go home, take early retirement. Those that are able to are using that money to parlay into other businesses, to buy land, to live off the land. The other thing that's happening, though, now you have the Strait of Hormuz opening, where ports were freed, energy prices are coming down, people are losing their jobs. Yes, but AI is replacing those jobs. This is what we tried to tell people years ago when they was like, oh no, AI is going to take over jobs. We're all going to struggle. I said, no, AI taking over jobs means now you don't have a job. You can do the things that you desire to do. You can live in your purpose. You don't have to work to build somebody else's empire. But back then I was saying you'll have NESARA benefits, the National Economic and Security Act, that will give each living person above about 21 years of age, an allotment of money every single month into a non-interest bearing account. It will be up to you and me to manage that money wisely because it's not accruing interest, but you're going to be wealthy. And globally, the Global Economic Security and Reformation Act will afford people money all across the globe. And I was saying then, before they were going against all the foreign nationals being here, saying we got to deport them, send them home, that in order to be to receive money from your sovereign wealth fund, from the wealth that's in your nation, you have to return back to your nation. Well, we were talking about NESARA and GESARA well over a decade. But guess what? They have a new name for it. Elon Musk coined the phrase. Yes, we do have to thank Empress Verdiasi Gaston L. Turner Bay, because that empress that's over the Washita people, the indigenous so-called black people, took the corporation to the world courts, and she won her claim in the amount of $85 quadrillion. And they said that when we go onto the gold standard, they will return that money to her. She took the corporation to court, and the farmers took the corporation to court for forcing them to take out loans to feed the people and to sow Monsanto seeds. They had to take out loans, not grants anymore, loans, and be forced to do the nefarious things of the United States Incorporated, to poison the people. And if they did, they would unalive the farmers. So the farmers also took them to court. And it was determined when both entities took the United States Incorporated to the World Court, we're going to form a military. The World Court said, that's what we're calling now the White Knights of the World. White hats of the military, the White Knights of NESARA. They said then, when the Washita Empress Verdiasi Gaston L. Turner Bay, took the United States Incorporated Court and said, y'all stole land from the black folk that y'all call African slaves, didn't come from Africa. They are the indigenous people here in America. You call it the Louisiana purchase. It was not a Louisiana purchase. It was a Louisiana theft. You stole the land. You better return it. I have the alloidal titles. That was Empress Verdiasi Gaston L. Turner Bay. Say her name. Verdiasi. Some people call her Verdiasi. Verdiasi L. Turner Bay. Empress Verdiasi L. Turner Bay took the world, United States Incorporated, to the world courts between the 80s and 90s. And so I'm going to stand up for my people. I'm not going to allow you to call them black, Negro, niggers, or colored African Americans. They are the autochthonous, indigenous Indians in the Americas. Why do you think the Colombian president felt so comfortable during United Nations saying before the whole world last November 2025 that the black folks are the only indigenous people of the Americas? He was only recounting what Empress Verdiasi L. Turner Bay said between the 80s and the 90s. They are the indigenous people. You stole the land here, return it. She went to the world court. She won her claim. Now you don't hardly hear people speaking of Empress Verdiasi L. Gaston Turner Bay. She had the alloidal titles. She won her claims. And she was told, we will return the land back to the indigenous people, but we got to form a military. We're going to take down the deep state. We're going to return the gold standard, and we're going to pay you in gold, because she said, don't pay me fiat, pay me and my people in gold. Then you had the farmers said the same thing. Pay us in gold. They lost their lives. They lost their attorneys who were speaking on behalf of them. They lost their land, but they're the backbone of America. And some of those farmers are classified as black because we know how to raise our own foods here. We know that they made leases with other foreign nationals and allowed them to come on our land, just like South Africa and Zimbabwe did, and allow foreign nationals to come on their land, gave them a lease agreement for 99 years so that they can plant food for the people when they're indigenous people, know how to feed the people. Food, and the food that the indigenous farmers feed us aligns with our bloodline. It's not filled with Monsanto seeds. We know how to prepare meats for us. So Empress Verdiasi Gaston L. Turner Bay, some people call it Tunica Bay, won her claims, but you had her ancestors in the 1800s that fought the same claims against the United States Incorporated deep state, but she won her claim, and the farmers. So we owe a lot of debt to Empress Verdiasi Gaston L. Turner Bay. Say her name, say her name, say her name. Look her up. Look up her books about the ancient ones, Return of the Ancient Ones. Verdiasi Gaston L. Turner Bay. I won't forget her. Thank you for mentioning her again. I do mention her as often as I can. She won her claims. She fought for decades, and it may have been what led to her demise. And the farmers. And they won their claims, and they were told, we're going to take down the world powers and we're going to return the world to peace and the gold standard. They said this at the world courts. That was in the 80s. And back in the 80s, they also had something called humanitarian and prosperity programs, where they went around to different churches and organizations and said, we're looking for people to apply for humanitarian aid to liberate the planet. These people were vetted. They had to pass security checks. They had to write up humanitarian projects, and they had to be approved for how they were going to help the world. This is where people are getting the whole idea and concept from. If you're going to become wealthy or you exchange your currencies, you have to have a humanitarian project. They're getting that idea from the 80s and the 90s when they had humanitarian prosperity programs, that the people, you had to be certain people, they would tag you on the back. Only it was like a secret, a sacred agreement. And people had to know about it. So it was churches and organizations that would actually create humanitarian programs. So when it was time, they would get funds from the government or the new government, the republic, to help liberate the planet, to clean the water, to clean the meats, to grow foods, to replant the trees, all of that. So these things have happened in order to liberate us. Sorry, I got off on that, but somebody brought her up and I had to say her name. So now here we are living in this time where in order to receive your sovereign wealth fund and the wealth that your nation has, you have to return back to your homeland. Because America can take care of herself. But a lot of these people have been living over here, having their babies here so that their babies can become a United States citizen, which it wasn't meant for them. It was meant for the children of African American slaves after the Civil War. And then their children would become United States citizens just at birth by virtue of being born here. And the parents will reap the benefits and get welfare, food stamps, money, Section 8 housing, medical, money for businesses, all that are at our expense. And not only at our monetary expense, but also cost our lives. Because many of them were practicing medicine. And it wasn't just the birthright citizens and their parents. It's those that came over here on temporary visas, that when their visas ran out, they were supposed to go back home. They committed a crime. They broke the law of the United States Incorporated and overstayed their visa. Try doing that in another country. See what happens to you. You will get arrested and you will pay recompense. But here, they overstayed their visa and they applied for a green card and they were allowed to remain here in this country until the green card came. It didn't matter if it took years. They were allowed to not only stay here, but work here and get work permits, and they could reapply every 2 years. Well, President Trump is saying no more. Now, if you want that green card, you can apply in your own country. You got to go back. They're calling him xenophobic, saying he hates other nationalities. No, America first. Every nation, every family, every person that got caught practices self-preservation, which is the first law of nature. Come on, somebody. They come over here and practice self-preservation and bring their family members over here and give them wealth and get government benefits for, I'm talking hundreds and thousands of dollars per person per month they would get. While living entitled. Now they have to go back home. Respectfully, of course. And President Trump is saying you can go back home willingly and we'll even help you along. We'll incentivize you to go home, because he was offering $1,000 for them to self-deport. Now he's saying we'll give you $2,600. We'll arrange your flight. We'll pay for that too, and we'll forgive all your fines that you own here, but you got to go home. Well, they were refusing to go home. The ones that were here with their temporary visas, the deferred action against childhood arrivals, the foreign nationals that sent their children here because they had deferred deportation action where they won't be deported temporarily. So deferred action means it's put off for a time period, but they got greedy and comfortable And some of them never applied for a citizenship. And they just would renew their work permits or not and remain undocumented because they could still get benefits, housing, welfare, food stamps, government benefits, loans for houses, loans for businesses. You could become an attorney as an undocumented student. You could get a degree from the United States colleges and universities being undocumented here illegally, unlawfully. You can do it all. You can work in finances, engineering, medicine, architect, and everything else. They got comfortable and entitled and arrogant. Some of them got arrogant, and some of them even committed other crimes, violent crimes. So deferred action against childhood arrivals, DACA, folks are now getting deported. And they're like, that's not fair. I've been here since I was a child. I went to school here. Some of us went to university here. We paid our taxes. Yeah, you paid your tribute to the United States Incorporated that gave you privileges and United States citizenship, but that citizenship doesn't make you American. Neither does it grant you sovereignty or rights. It affords you privileges. And the government grants privileges and the government can take it away. And all those temporary visa statuses were at the discretion of immigration and the United States government. So they used their discretion to allow these people to stay here. Now they're using their discretion to say it's time to go home. And a lot of them are having cognitive dissonance, or what these young people will call they crashing out. It's not fair. I made babies here. I'm married here. I have relationships here. I have a business here. I bought land here. It doesn't matter. You're here illegally, unlawfully. Your time is up. What part of that do people not understand? It's not your land. Neither is it the land of your original ancestry. Otherwise, you wouldn't call yourself a foreign name - American, Indian American, Filipino American, Pakistani American, Chinese American, Japanese. And they'll tell you, no, I'm Japanese. And they'll wave their flag very proudly, and God bless them. Now they can wave it on their, because I don't know any Americans that flagrantly wave their flag in somebody else's land when they're a visitor. Got complacent and arrogant. And see, the sleeping giants, the Americans, and the so-called legal United States citizens here, oh, we're not playing that. We're not tolerating you. We don't care nothing about all these guilt trips they try to play on us. You're here unlawfully. You got to go home. We don't care about anybody calling us xenophobic, because we've been very tolerant. While people have been on our lands, living on our heads, getting benefits from the government that we have to pay for. And some of them will get high debt here and then send their money back home to build up, palaces and lands and businesses there, and leave the debt here if they decide to go back home. Who gonna pay for that debt that was left here? So now the good news, though, is everybody will return home. They will get benefits from their sovereign wealth funds and from the resources on their lands and from all the trade deals and trade agreements. Now the Strait of Hormuz is open. The trade will flow through the Strait of Hormuz. President Trump brokered trade deals in the amount of trillions of dollars between America and the Middle East. Now they can go back home. The conflict that was in Somalia and other African nations have been resolved, or at least there's peace right now. They can all go back home. In any places where there is still some issues going, President Trump is working with them. And some things people don't agree with, but let me tell you, when you do military strategy, you can't play patty cake, baker man with your opposition. So let's talk about Cuba, for instance. They're struggling, the Cubans. They're having a hard time. They're having an energy crisis. I heard they're starving. A few months ago, they had a medical crisis. But Trump is saying, I'm putting sanctions on a Cuban leader so that he can give in, because he's a communist that's enforcing a communist regime that's harming his own people. Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, said, I'm a son of Cuban immigrants, he said. Why are we blaming President Donald Trump for what's going on in Cuba? when the Cuban people can rise up against the Cuban leader, because the white ones, the ones that look white, that are here running Miami with all that money, that at first I will vote for Donald Trump, are now in opposition against Donald Trump, and are angry because of immigrants. Why aren't they using all that money, wealth, and power that they got from here in America, in Miami and elsewhere, to go and liberate their people with that money and power in Cuba? And why are they fragrantly waving their flags and marching in No Kings rallies instead of waving their Cuban flag in Cuba and standing against the Cuban leader? So you could come here and speak against the policies and the president and the administration that's here and flagrantly wave your flag and sing and howl and shout and protest, but you can't stand against your own government? What, are you a coward? I'm just asking the question. Or no. Because you're not a coward when it comes standing against our military and our policies. But how many people are returning back home to fight against their government? Now they will say, well, the United States enslaved us and they did things against us and they did this, that, and another. So now we can come to your country and we can live freely and get all these benefits. Well, everybody is saying the time is up. Okay, you've had your run. But the good news is that we here in America have a sovereign wealth fund that's comprised of minerals, precious metals, land, stocks, bonds, real estate, and trade deal money and agreement money between different countries that will go to the American, so we can live the American dream. Everybody else also have sovereign wealth funds that we formerly called GESARA, the Global Economic Security and Reformation Act. So now when they go back home, they will be able to thrive based on those resources. But before you give them money, you got to get them home. So I want you to research it. There have been millions of people living here. Many of whom, and Trump said, they came here wealthy already. And they delivered their children to get birthright citizenship so that they can even get more wealth. And you got millions here on fake H-1B workers visas. You go and research the address that they say they work at. They're shell corporations with empty buildings. And many of them are running money laundering occupations, human and sex trafficking, and childhood trafficking. Running on an H-1B visa. Where American, so-called United States, I don't want to call them American, United States corporations was given money from the government in the amount of hundreds of millions of dollars to go and recruit people from other nations to come here on H-1B visas and other work visas to work in certain professions and create businesses allegedly to help our economy, where they were running sex trafficking, money laundering, organ harvesting, and drug trafficking through these empty commercial buildings. You wonder why a lot of buildings you walk past have paper inside the window where you can't see inside the window, and you wonder what's going on inside them? They're covered for a reason. Or you ever went past a business and it was empty and it's been empty for years and you couldn't understand why nobody ever bought the building? Because that's where one of their shell corporations are. You wonder why some of these banks and these commercial properties are closed now? Because they've had FBI raids where the people were arrested and the money laundering was confiscated, and the children that were underneath the tunnels were rescued. You wonder why in the middle of the night you heard an explosion and you couldn't figure out where it was coming from and it sounded like a volcano erupted? That's because deep underground military bases where some of these children were held and some of these people were held and some of these drugs were funneled through were blown up by the military. It's a whole new reality. It's a whole new world. And the enemies are not welcome. I'm not calling everyday people enemies. I'm calling these entities. And you know, speaking of entities, some have said that the Z word, the ZIONISTS, that run this world, most of them aren't even human. That's why they like organs. That's why they like children. And that's why they harvest energy, because they absorb it. But it's a new reality. We've awakened. We, the people all across the globe, have awakened. Many of us have exploited other nations, exploited other people's cultures, exploited other people's wealth. We need to repent. Some people didn't know what they were doing, but most people that came to the Americas, they knew about the loopholes and they availed themselves of it and they took advantage of it and they didn't give back to we the people. They enriched themselves. This is a come to Jesus moment for those people and your family members. You can speak on behalf of your bloodline and you can repent right now. Repent just means to turn away from. You need to apologize, really apologize in your heart or with your mouth. And the best apology is to turn away from your wrongdoing and go back home. Because you've exploited the resources here. You've exploited the energy. You exploited the people. A lot of people came here, refused to assimilate, refused to speak the language. And hey, some people want to acculturate or they want to keep their culture intact. But we can't go to your country and keep our culture intact. We have to assimilate and at least learn key words and learn the language and be respectful, not speaking against the military, not speaking against the government, not speaking against your culture or your people, not putting our nose up against you. We have to create businesses that will help the country. We just demand the same thing. So a lot of people that's been here need to repent. Repent for your bloodline, for your people, for what you did. You can return the resources, but some people won't, and I'm not mad at that. But turn away from what you did and go back home. Because a lot of y'all that's here living off the wealth of the land, you got wealth back home. You have something. And whatever you have makes sense in your homeland. But you got comfortable here. The American dream is for Americans. Just like the Japanese dream is for Japanese. And the Indian dream in East India for the Indians. Everybody has a sovereign wealth fund. Everybody has wealth and resources. And those who have less than others will have help from other dynasties all across the globe. That's why you have people all over the world talking about ancient dragon society. People all over the world talking about, oh, I can't wait for the Saint Germain trust. People from all over the world asking me, can you get Queen Elizabeth back on your show, Princess Elizabeth, who's going to release the Rodriguez Fund and the Saint Germain Fund and King Solomon Fund, because they all know that these funds and these grants and these sovereign wealth funds will help their nations, because everybody's not as greedy as some of you have been, or self-absorbed, or snooty, or entitled. But we can all of us that have done something that hurt somebody else, whether even if it was unbeknownst to you, need to apologize and turn away. That's what repent means, to turn away from. Stop it. Take the money that President Trump is giving people and go back home. You had a good run, but the gig is up. We know about the fake degrees. We know about the fake licenses. We know about the loopholes, the VAWA, Violence Against Women Act, that allowed women to say they were being abused by their American husband, a United States citizen husband, just to get their visa expedited. We know it. The gig is up. And then that woman can now get welfare, food stamps, get a work permit, a job, and make her husband look like a criminal. And they woke up. The United States government is like, they're exploiting this Violence Against Women Act that give them a fast track to the green card, because right before Trump came, and once he came, now all of a sudden you had tens of thousands of people automatically remembering that they were victims of violence. They had to apply for the VAWA, Violence Against Women Act application, so they can fast track their green card and get all these benefits in the interim and go to work. It just happened when Trump came back, where all of us, tens of thousands, it went up so much. And now it wasn't just the women that were applying. Now it was men using the Violence Against Women Act. let's say their American U.S. citizen wife was violent. She yelled at me. That's called emotional violence. And then you had the children of immigrants saying, hey, my parents that became a United States citizen or they got a green card, they committed violence against me. I need to fast track my green card application by just applying for a VAWA. And then you had parents of childhood immigrants or childhood new citizens in America to apply for the VAWA. It increased by hundreds of % when Trump came in because they wanted to fast track that green card using the Violence Against Women Act. They wanted to all of a sudden cry, some of them, I'm a DACA, I'm a deferred action for childhood arrivals. I wasn't supposed to be deported. I got children here. I got jobs here. I started my life here. Yeah, but you overstayed your visa. So that's a crime. It's considered a crime. And a crime of omission is still a crime. And you've been here you're an adult now. You were a child when you came here and you never tried to rectify your status. Or they were naturalized, or they have an H-1B visa or a student visa or a visitor's visa. And right before their time went out or right after their time ran out, they applied for immunity. And they could just hire an immigration attorney and say, I'm afraid to go back to my country. I need immunity. My country is now is economically unstable. I need immunity. And they would get it automatically. And they will hire their immigration attorneys that works for the British Accredited Registry and not we the people and don't care about American suffering while they all get the jobs and the resources. And they would fast track that visa or that green card so they can get United States citizenship status. Many of the immigration attorneys, remember, they're foreign nationals. Some of them are still undocumented students. Some of them are still adult DACA recipients. But they have judge and attorney attached to their name, but they're being arrested now as well. So they would just hire them and say, I'm scared to go back home. But President Trump is saying, you know what? Now most countries in the world are economically stable. You can all go back home. Now there's world peace. There's no more wars. You can go back home. There's trade flowing freely throughout the Strait of Hormuz and all over the world. You can go back home. No more excuses. And if you are a victim of violence and you apply for the VAWA, the Violence Against Women Act, because your spouse or your child or your mother or parents committed violence against you, we feel for you. We got empathy for you. Now you can go back home. There's no reason for. So if these people, the United States citizens, committed violence against you, your sponsor committed violence against you in this country, that means you're unsafe here. That means you need to go home. So you mean to tell me you wanted to stay here and you wanted the government to take care of you after you overstayed your visa? After you had an awakening that you're being violence is ushered again. You want Zaddy, Big Daddy. I love it when you call me Big Papa. You thought Big Papa was going to pay for your lifestyle? Because you didn't raise your children well enough to tell them not to whip on you as the parent that's a visitor to this country? Or you might have mismarried. Everybody makes a mistake. Well, you can go back home where you're safe. But Big Papa's not going to take care of your lifestyle because you came from somewhere. Right? So you can go back home is what you're telling the government. And the people are saying, no, I can't go back. I'm comfortable here. I have a life. He said, well, you ain't got to go home, but you got to get up out of here. And some people are like, I'm not going back. I'm going to hire an attorney. I got attorneys all online. You can join my lawsuit. We're going to sue the United States government. So President Trump and Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, made agreements with other nations, 30 of them to be exact, that said if the people that have overstayed their time in America, you know, the visitors that came to visit your lands, your home, they're going to anchor themselves to your home after they were either invited or they bombarded themselves here and dropped off their children here against the knowledge of and the welcoming of the American people, the United States citizens there. If they won't go home, these 30 nations have agreed with President Donald Trump, they can come here. 30 countries have said they can come to their country. They'll gladly take them. And let's see if they try the shenanigans they tried over here. They won't get welfare. They won't get temporary assistance to needy families. They won't get food stamps. They won't get medical benefits. They won't get a work permit. They'll figure out their own way. Well, now all of a sudden, according to the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, now that they've made agreements with these 30 nations, the United States Incorporated has made agreements with 30 nations to receive these immigrants who refuse to go home. Now all of a sudden the immigrants are saying, that's okay, I don't want to go there, I'll go home. All of a sudden home is safe. All of a sudden home is economically stable enough. And the ones that are being deported, some of them are online crying, while other ones are saying, you know what? I actually had a lot of money in America, but I didn't think enough to save it. Didn't think enough to think ahead to what happens if my status is discovered. A lot of them that are taking out loans from their central banks there in their country in order to get to America, they took out loans to pay off the drug cartel or the criminal cartel that brokered deals with the United States government to bring them here. They took out bank loans to pay off the cartel to get them here or their children. They're saying online now, if I had used that money to add to what I have right here, I would have been all right. But instead, I paid off the cartel, and some of them paid off the cartel and got here and got stuck and had to figure out a way. That's why they married United States citizens. Or they complained that they had violence committed against them. Or they committed crimes here. Or they participated in drug and sex trafficking and childhood trafficking. They took out loans, some of them. The rich ones just came over, or the ones that were recruited just came over with H-1B visas and worked in all areas of our different corporations, started business with the government help. You know, the same government that gave Israel $38 billion per year for annual defense aid, that's the government. The bloodline families that's against the indigenous people here, that's the government that recruited other people to come here and granted them citizenship status and made them think they were American. But you can't be American and a citizen. A citizen is a slave and chattel property to the United States Incorporated. And as a benefit of being a slave or chattel property of the United States Incorporated and being a citizen, you got money and resources, and you paid a tribute to them called taxes. So people can boast all day long and say, but I paid my taxes. It means nothing. Yes, they came through underground tunnels that's connected under the continents. Thank you so much for saying that. They pay taxes. That means that makes them lawful. No, that makes you legal, beholden to the corporation as chattel property because you paid them tribute for allowing you to be here. That's not lawful. That's legal. And it's unconstitutional according to our republic. And you've committed treason along with the United States Incorporated. They're just being nice and saying it's a crime. You overstayed your visa. It's treason. So the best thing to do for those people is to go back home peacefully, because they won't get any wealth from our sovereign wealth fund, and they won't get universal high income. That's what Elon Musk calls it. But the economists agree that it's universal high income. We just called it NESARA, and it's part of the sovereign wealth fund that President Trump created in 2025 when he first came back in January. Again, that's a trust comprised of resources, stocks, bonds, real estate, precious metals, rare earth minerals, trade deal agreement money, etc., for the people that are Americans. Possibly lawful citizens. I don't know how they're going to do that. But Americans will get the sovereign wealth fund. Those that are foreign nationals have to go to their country to get their money and their wealth. The gig is up. They've overstayed their time. They need to go back home, make amends with the people that they left behind, repay those debts from those money they borrowed from the central bank that some of them never paid back. Some of them sold off their land just to get to America, the promised land, where they were milking us from our milk and honey that our ancestors left for us. These are the same people that will tell you nobody owns the land. You guys can't say the land belonged to you, because they've benefited from the land that our ancestors left for us to manage and be the good stewards of. The good thing about Americans, though, is we don't treat people the way they've treated us. I'll tell you how when we go to their country, we're respectful. When we go to their country, we learn their language, or we learn key phrases at least. We assimilate as much as possible. We don't take from their people. We pay a higher price than everybody else. They have a citizen and a national price, and then they have a higher price for the foreigners, mainly Americans. Play with me if you want to. We've known all along that they've been told when they came here, stay away from the black folks, stay away from the black community, but put your business in the black community so that you can get their money. Because they're the 9th richest nation in the world in terms of buying power. Stay away from them, though. You better than them. They're lazy, is what they told us. You're lazy. And their children got these scholarships to go to these private schools and universities that were earmarked for African Americans or children classified. Don't play with me. I worked at every school level, elementary, middle school, and high school, and I worked at universities, and I worked in a medical school, and I worked with the dental school and engineering departments and departments all across different disciplines. And I saw who got the minority scholarships. It was mostly the East Indians and other foreign nationals who called themselves minorities in order to get a scholarship so that their children, so that they can do well here in the Americas while they're told they're better than the black folks. And we always heard this, that you're better than us. And we've shopped in some of your stores and we watched you follow us and accused us of stealing and walking around us like we're thieves and being nasty to us and have the worst customer service on these lands, some of these foreign nationals. And we still did business with them against our best interests. Because we're not like the people that come here. And we didn't commit any violence against them. In fact, we stood with them in the marches and the protests against our own government. When I say we, many of those are those that pledged with Black Greek societies or were a part of organizations and nonprofit organizations and churches that were commissioned to march on behalf of the foreign nationals who called themselves minorities. And how is it that these nonprofit organizations, churches, and Greek societies and secret societies can stand with people who have exploited our resources and spoken against us and mistreated us? Because they're not separate from the state. There's no separation between church and state. The church is the state. The church is given demands and they're told what to do, just like during COVID when they were all told to shut their doors. There's a thing in church world that says you have to fellowship. You're supposed to, and it's a good thing to fellowship. Keep your doors open. Some denominations will go beyond that and say if you don't come to church on Sunday, you'll go to hell. Especially if you were raised in a black church, a Pentecostal church. But they sure closed them doors down during COVID now, didn't they? Why? Because Massa, who granted them that 501(c) and gave them grants, told them to close their doors. So Massa will tell them to stage protests. And a lot of the pastors of these churches are secret society members. Boule. Not all of them, because you got some that are really good out here that really just want to work for the people. Those are the ones that's usually kept poor. And any benefits they get, they really try to feed the people. They struggle. The ones that really have a heart for the people. They can't seem to grow their corporations, their churches. They don't have the money. And a lot of them don't have the training to know how to do outreach to reach people outside of the four walls. That's why you still got drugs and crimes in these communities with churches on every corner. They haven't had the training or the money, the funds to reach out to the people to really help them. But the ones that pledge to the Black Greek societies and the white Greek societies and the secret societies and the Freemasons that got government help because they really are the state. They got money for libraries, coffee shops, nursing homes, funeral homes. They shut them doors down during COVID and they march in the streets whenever they're told to because Big Papa, who funded their churches, gave them tax breaks, gave them money from all those different things that I named, those libraries, those coffee shops, those nursing home facilities, and whatever else they do. Big Papa, who gave them the money for that, said it's time to organize and have a No Kings rally. It's time to have to align with the NFLC, the No Effing Around Coalition, and to march in the streets. It's time to work with Antifa and Black Lives Matter and Until Freedom, because George Soros and other billionaires that funded those entities and that funnel money through your church and Act Blue and fund the Democratic Party have said it's time now to act a fool in the streets and to protest. Even though that's not what a lawful protest is, but Big Daddy told you it was, and Martin Luther King or Michael Luther King told you that's what a legal protest is. And he himself said, I fear that I've led my people in a burning house. Mean I made a mistake by telling y'all to take to the streets and let these dogs eat up your children and let these people come out with fire hoses and let them unalive you. I fear that I've led my people into a burning house. You know, the one that's a friend of the Rothschild, that's got pictures taken with the Rothschilds, that's a part of the secret society. The one that cheated on his wife, allegedly, told you what a protest was, but a lawful protest, etymologically speaking, and when you study Black Law's dictionary, is actually a lawful document that's notarized that cites your complaint against a corporation or a corporate entity. And then you go through certain lawful processes and procedures to mitigate your problems. It's not marching in the streets. But when these companies, these nonprofit organizations, and these churches are told to stand against the military, stand against the National Guard, stand against Donald Trump, stand against administrations that say we got to protect our borders, whenever they're told to do it, that's what they do it. That's when they do it. And a lot of those people that the nonprofit organizations, including the NAACP, recruit to stand against the military and for foreign nationals that invaded our country and took over our resources and our lands, they target people classified as Black. And the people classified as Black stood right beside the foreign nationals against our own best interests. So don't say we're xenophobic. Don't do it. Don't play us. Don't say we hate. We got Asian hate. We got foreign hate. We got Indian hate. I was getting a phone call. Oh, my phone. We don't. Even though we know people have mistreated us and got resources and jobs that we could have taken, we still fought on their behalf. So we're not like every other, like they've been to us. Pretty much a loving people. We know that America has been a melting pot, a pot where everybody can come and everybody, their time is up because we've suffered in the meantime. Not just American, but some of the older citizens that didn't go through the same channels and just get all these benefits. And some of them did, and they just don't remember because their ancestors got the benefits and the privilege. And now they don't remember that they got the privilege above the indigenous people. But they might not have gotten the fast track money and benefits that a lot of these foreign nationals get. So my time is up. I've been talking for over 2 hours. The purpose of this is that this is a whole new reality. The golden age is here. We're ascending in consciousness. We're taking our power back, and we're standing in our authority, and we're commanding freedom, sovereignty, peace, wealth, and prosperity. The symbol of prosperity that just happened, the last symbol, was the agreement between Iran and the United States that the Strait of Hormuz is now open, and now trade can flow freely in that area. And now, not only is trade flowing freely there, but all across the globe, you see economic policies put in place to stabilize the economies. You see prices going down and inflation going down. If it hasn't happened, it will now that the Strait of Hormuz is open. You also know that President Donald Trump created a board of peace that many nations have already joined, and that aligns with Project Sandman that said that all 209 nations would agree to world peace, and they would agree to stop trading with the United States dollar and use their own currencies backed by precious metals. It's a whole new world, a whole new reality that we can operate within right now. right now. Doesn't matter what your bank account looks like or what people think. Right now, you can operate in prosperity and sovereignty right now, because the moment you make up your mind, the universe conspires to assist you. The moment you make up your mind, the universe bows to your commands. When you wake up and realize that you're in control of your life, your wealth, your health, and your posterity, then the whole world, all the energies all around you will conform to your thoughts and your commands. The moment you make up your mind, the universe conspires to assist you. And when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. My name is Dr. Kia Pruitt. I trust I've said something to raise your vibrations and inspire you to create the most amazing, magnificent life that you desire and deserve. Because you deserve wealth. You deserve peace. You deserve freedom. You deserve prosperity and abundance. No matter who you are, what you look like, what your skin complexion is, what your religious affiliation is, what your political ideologies are, you all deserve peace, wealth, sovereignty, and prosperity. So this is not a podcast to make anybody feel like you don't deserve anything. It's just that we have to have justice in order to have peace. Take care, family. I love you. Go back and look at my videos with Sheikh Jacob Bey. He broke down a lot of things to let us know that we are now in a whole new reality. 10, this is the year of 10. 10 is God's promises, right? According to Sheikh Jacob Bey. God's promises and God's laws. 10 is also a 1 with the 0, the masculine and the feminine working together synergistically in harmony. It is the number that comes after 9. 9 is the number of completion. And then 10 is a new beginning. I love you, family. This is our season. Let's think like it, walk like it, and behave like it, and dress like it. I'll see you on the other side. Take care and make this a magnificent day. I love you. Bye-bye.